This is a walkthrough of this lab whose purpose is to configure a pfSense firewall that will provide OpenVPN access from an external virtual machine on the local bridged network through a tunnel network in the VPN software to a local virtual machine on the host-only network side, using VirtualBox as our virtualization platform. In order to do this, first we need to go get pfSense. So I'm going to pfSense.org, pfSense. I download the latest pfSense. Give me a little peek here. Shrink my website here. The latest version, make a note of that. I'm going to use the CD ISO installer and download. It's a fairly small download. I'm putting it in my downloads folder. And save. Now I will need to extract it once it's downloaded. I will pause so you don't have to wait for my down. Now that the download is complete, I'm going to go to that folder and I'm going to extract it. I'm on a Mac, so just double clicking will extract it and create a folder of that name. And that will be the ISO file that I will reference from inside of VirtualBox. Alright, so let's go to VirtualBox. I'm going to create a new virtual machine. I'm going to call it cis338 pfSense. I like to put the version name in there as well, 2.4.4-p3. It's located here on my local hard drive. That's the fastest option. If you're running out of disk space, put it on a external drive. I prefer external SSDs. I think they're very fast and the price is right. With a quality cable, you could also get a fast flash drive, USB 3.0 or 3.1. I've had decent performance. Now, knowing a little background of FreeBSD, a little research shows me that FreeBSD is based, pfSense is based on BSD. FreeBSD is the version it's based on. And so I use that as my type. I'm going to bump it up to 2048 memory just for good performance doing the install. I can always drop that down if I want to test performance. Going to go with the default setting, create a virtual hard drive. VDI, dynamically allocated, means it grows as it needs it. And the standard 16 gigabit byte size. Alright, now before starting it out, I need to go into its settings, configure the storage, the virtual CD, to be attached to the file that I just downloaded and extracted. Go to my downloads folder. That pfSense folder should be around here. There's the ISO extracted. Double click. Make sure we tell it it's a live CD. And something I regularly forget is, remember, it's acting as a firewall, so I need to set up its network. The adapter 1, I'm going to have that be the WAN side. NAT would work, but I want to have access to the VPN from another virtual machine, and I want them to share an address on the bridged network of my computer. Okay. Now adapter 2, I want it to be enabled and connected to the host only. And I think I'm ready, but one more thing I want to do is in the VirtualBox, not there, I'm in VirtualBox. It just crashed on me. Okay, back in VirtualBox. I don't know what happened there. A little glitch going. Make sure in the Host Network Manager, you can get through the menu under VirtualBox. You want to make sure the DHCP server is not enabled on your local host network. We don't want VirtualBox providing DHCP. Our firewall is going to do that. Okay, so I make sure that that is set. Now, if you don't see any host-only network adapters, then you create one. And this is an important address to see. See how our local network is 192.168.56 address. That is the address that this PC will actually be able to access. But more importantly, our virtual machine is on that network, our internal machine, and our pfSense firewall is going to have a static address on this network. So knowing this network is very important. Now you can always edit that and select that, make that a network of your choice. I'm leaving it the default setting, but that could be a different address depending on your software. Alright, let's start up our machine. Having it selected and clicking start, and a window pops up. Impressive how fast the install goes on a very stable operating system and a very good firewall. Watch for, whenever you're booting a machine like this, you learn lots of things watching what it knows about as it's booting up. It's inquiring all the drivers in the virtual machine. Occasionally you'll see some scary messages. This time we didn't. Accepting the license, installing, default key map. Remember, I have this capturing my keyboard. Going to do the guided disk. Goes through the install. Now what we're going to do, it's going to want to reboot. While it's rebooting, we're going to remove that virtual CD ISO file from the optical drive. Okay, don't need anything to do anything else, so I hit the default entry. And now I'm getting ready. As it reboots, I want to remove that CD. Otherwise, it'll want to boot from that CD again. So right now, I could go to my CD storage here. It won't let me remove it yet. Oh yeah, I can try to remove it now, but it's still holding on to it. But when I start rebooting, then I'll remove that disk. So I'm getting ready to. Okay, so let's go back to its window. Click reboot. And now while it's rebooting, I'm going to remove that CD from the drive there. So now it's rebooting. It doesn't have a CD anymore. Now can come back to it. Oh, I rebooted it just at the wrong time. Let me restart it here. Let's power it up again. There we go. And now this is the first time booting into the installed system. So it's going to ask us a few questions, or give us the opportunity to change a few things. It'll actually get the WAN set up automatically for us. I am on a network with DHCP server running on it. And EM0 usually becomes the WAN side. And then the LAN side, it doesn't have an IP address, and that's what we're going to set. Once we set the IP address, we can then visit the page of pfSense. Look at that. We've got an address on the WAN side. This is my local network that I'm bridged onto. In the classroom, this will be 172.16.0. I'm at home on a different network. The LAN, it's choosing this IP address, but we want to set that to a 56.2 address, not 56.1. And to do that, we go to option number 1. So click option number 1, capturing my keyboard, not setting up VLANs, and I'm going to leave the EM0. I chose the wrong option. I'm going to quit that and go back to the main menu here. I chose the wrong. Option 2 is what I wanted. Trying to cancel. Okay, back here. Option 2 is what I wanted. 2, enter. And I'm going to set the IP address of the LAN side, option 2. And that's going to be 192.168. Remember that 56. I don't want to choose 1. That's what VirtualBox is assigned to my PC. I'm going to make it 2. And it's 24-bit, Class C. No IPv6. And yes, we are enabling DHCP server. Our firewall will be the DHCP server. Some settings you want a different machine acting as DHCP server, but for us it's easiest. Now we're going to give it IP addresses to hand out, and I'm going to do 192.168.56, same network. .50 is the starting address I'm going to be handing out as clients, and the ending address 192.168.56. Let's make it 99. And yes, I'm going to use the insecure HTTP for now, because I just want to get this working. Then we'll worry about securing it. All right, now it's telling me I can visit that address and now do the rest of the configuration. Okay, here we go. I could do some troubleshooting here. I am going to, just for fun, I'm going to enable Secure Shell, option 14. We could have done that from the website address. I'm going to go to the address now. So I'm going to my browser from my local PC, which is on the host only. It's added adapter on the host only network. And there's the address I'm going to visit. When you see this screen, you know your pfSense is running. Going to go with the default user is admin, default password is pfSense. Now you'll get a warning about this, but we can go through the wizard. It'll take us to a page to change the default password. So let's walk through the initial setup. It won't work as a firewall until this happens. I tried it, learned that. I'll give it a name. I'm going to call it cis338. I'm going to go with the DNS that's handed to me as a firewall. So I'm not choosing override. I'll go with the default settings for the time server, but giving it my time zone, America, Chicago. Now here's our first little more detailed settings. I think everything here I can leave. Now I think I want to turn this off because I am on a private network on the WAN side, and I don't want to block them. I want to let them in. This, I've got it to work without unchecking that. Here's my address that I set at the console, but I can also set it here. And here's where I can set my admin password. And now, ready to go. It's reloading. And just another little step. Check for updates. I'm not going to do that because I know I just downloaded the last one. Now when I click Finish, it will actually work as a firewall at this point. If we have a PC on the LAN side, a virtual machine, it will get an address provided by this pfSense firewall. And since this has an address on the WAN side, it will get to the internet. And just to prove that, let's go to Diagnostics Ping. Now let's enter a name, www.google.com, and ping diagnostic. And we see that yes, our firewall is connected to the internet. Now we're going to configure it to provide VPN services for a remote machine to access the local VPN. The way I'm going to do that is go to the VPN and use the easiest one, OpenVPN. We are going to create a server, and using the wizard to create our server. We're going to try a local user access server. The other options I don't want to use right now. We need to create a certificate authority for the system, so I'm going to call this cis338 CA. Go with the default settings of things, and I need to put in some information about where I am. I'll make this Dubuque and University of Dubuque. Now we have a certificate authority. We need this in order to create certificates. Oh, I thought I entered a valid country code. Oh, it wants a 2-letter. That's the autocomplete of Google Chrome messing me up. Alright, so we've created this certificate authority. Now we need a server certificate. So I'm going to do this cis338 server certificate. I could have done this manually, but the wizard just walks me through the steps. So I was creating a server certificate, and then I click Create New Certificate. So I have a server certificate. The actual VPN will not work until I create a user certificate as well. I may have to do that on my own, but let's find out here. So this is our VPN. I'm going to call it, I might just call it that, a description. And it's going to do TLS authentication, more secure. Here is the part that gets a little confusing. This is that tunnel network. I'm going to go with the example they gave us here. This is that little dotted line on that diagram. Let me show you that. Oh, it's the other diagram over here. This is this tunnel network. Think of it as a extra little network between my VPN external PC and the internal production network. This is kind of the more mysterious one, what goes on here. Okay, so that's the network we're creating right now. And I'm going to use that address 10.0.8.0/24 for that tunnel network. Now, if I want to force that external client to actually use this firewall now to get to the internet, I would force the client to connect through that. The local network is this network, and since I did it before, was it in memory. I did see one video of someone setting that up and left that blank, but I don't trust leaving that blank. Okay, I am going to allow connections between clients. I don't think that's required to make it work. Going to the default settings here, and next. Oh, I have read, in order to get Windows file sharing to work that someone said you have to turn this on. I'm going to turn it on just in case I need it. And then next. Now, this is the part that we don't want to have to go through. This is one nice thing about this wizard. It does the firewall rules and the OpenVPN rules. There's enough other things to worry about rather than having to get those rules right. And click Next. Now the configuration is complete, but it's not going to, we're not going to be able to connect a client until we do one more thing here. Over in the system, under the certificate manager, I learned this by trial, it not working for me. I need a user certificate. Right now I have these things called server certificates. They are okay, but in order to actually connect through to the internal LAN, I also need a user certificate. So we're going to create an internal certificate, and I'm going to call this cis338 user certificate. And the reason I know it's a user certificate is down here way at the bottom. That's the certificate type. There's two types you can create. It will not work without also having a user certificate, unless you don't use certificates to do the VPN. And let's go down back to our VPN server. Oh, I forgot to give it a common name. All right, we'll call it cis.tbq.edu. It likes to have a common name. All right, now I have a user certificate. And now let's go back to our VPN and take one more look at this. The wizard created it for me, but it created a type of server that I want to take one step back. It's not quite as secure, but it's a little easier to deal with. The default server mode is remote access with a certificate plus user authority. The pain about this is anytime I want to connect a user, I have to create a user on the server, on the firewall. It is more secure because it's something they have, a certificate plus something they know, a password. But to make this a little less painful or complex, I'm going to drop it to remote access SSL TLS. So it doesn't need to have, it won't ask for a password, a user login. And now I can save that, just that little change I made. And now we have it configured. And the next hardest thing here is to actually configure, install OpenVPN, and configure it with all the correct settings on our remote client. Well, rather than have to worry how to do all that, there's another package we want to add to our system. I'm going to go into my System Package Manager and view available packages and search for VPN. And in the VPN packages available, there is this VPN package called OpenVPN Client Export. This makes it very easy, well, easier to configure your client. That's the remote external PC. He's the client to connect through the firewall into the local LAN. And I'm going to click install that. And depending on my network speed for the firewall, it will go grab the software, download it, and install it. And now to know whether or not this is all ready to go, I can now go over to my VPN, OpenVPN. Here's the new menu items that show up because I added that. Package and client export. I now go down to the bottom here and I see if I have all the certificates set up correctly, this will appear. If you don't have your certificate set up correctly and something went wrong, you will not see anything available for download. The nice thing about this is it packages OpenVPN along with the configuration. And so to download that, I can put this on a flash drive, take it to, send it to my clients. In this case, I'm going to download it to a location where I will be sharing with my VPNs. because I can create a shared drive on my VPN. So I'm going to download the latest current Windows installer. Remember, this contains all the settings as well as the OpenVPN. I'm going to put it in my folder here I'm keeping to hold all this stuff. Where did I put that? Here's the shared drive in my documents folder, and I'm going to save that configuration there. Otherwise, I have to find a way to transfer it over to my client VPN. Okay, so at this point, my pfSense server is ready to run as a VPN, or as an OpenVPN server, and I'm ready now to create these other virtual machines. One on the bridged side, the external network, and that's the one that will be downloading that configuration file that I just created. And on the internal side, I'll have a machine that will be getting its DHCP assignment from this pfSense firewall. Either of these machines can be running a generic Windows 10 and just setting up the network adapter. Then this guy will download, or I'll run the executable that I transferred over to him. That'll be the next video.